And good morning. You find the very unfriendly skies with Tironan. And this video is a bit of me being a perfectionist. I wanted some pretty music for the background, and if you listen carefully, you perhaps can hear it very much in the background. But these videos are really about showing the aircraft that I am doing, and not how pretty the music is, which is what I managed to represent. Okay, and as nice as that is, I wanted to do this right. And I wanted, more than anything else, to start documenting the journey of this aircraft. Now, this aircraft is the F-94 D. And the D was a one-off model, which is kind of typical for World of War gaming, or World of Warplanes. And it is an absolutely beautiful aircraft at this point. And you may ask, okay, well, it's nice. What changed your mind? Well, a lot of things. This is an up-engined, up-gunned version of it. And more than anything else, I wanted to make sure that I talked a little bit about what this is like. Okay. When I started out on this aircraft, I did not like it. I really consider it a waste of my time, a waste of my effort, and you should really have done something better with your time, World of Warplanes. The thing is that you will notice with this aircraft, and I have just got a paucity of targets here. I'm going to have to concentrate for just a minute here. Not getting shot down by their tail guns is something of a challenge, especially when you've got 3 different aircraft here. We're about to finish this one up, though. Okay. All right. So when I first got this aircraft, it's never been slow. Let me state that first off. It starts off as fast as your LA-160 ends up at, or as your FJ-1 Fury ends up at. And the guns are not bad even at the start of it. But you end up asking yourself, what's the difference between this and a F2H? And the answer was, well, not much. You're going through the same deal and you're getting the same kind of results that you got with an F2H. And that comparison still holds out to be very true. All right. So what's to like about this? Well, it comes with the gun. If you get an F2H and you get an upgrade in firepower and you get folding fin rockets and you're talking about something very different now, aren't you? And that shows up here. You have an aircraft that, to a large extent, I am getting into another area I'm going to have to talk about, which is I don't like the altitude capability of this very much. So I have an TA-152, and I'm having to run because my then you got me. All right. The aircraft is fast, but it has a 6,000 foot ceiling that you have to respect. I got up very high after that RB-17, got within the range and the weapons of the TA-152 and could not run it, which I would normally be able to do at a more reasonable altitude. Okay, so what do you get from that? Well, you can't get much from it. What you do get out of the F-2H Banshee is high altitude capabilities. Now, neither of them turn worth a darn. And we have other aircraft around here, so I'm not really too much worried about that. And you can tell the Vulcan gun, which is one of the things that really changes my opinion of aircraft, I've noticed over and over again, is that guns. And you don't quite have a laser beam, but you got something pretty damn close to it. I cannot rave enough about this gun and its capabilities. Alright? Just can't. Now, if you insist on getting in high altitude fights with this thing, I suggest you keep them at very long range. But that's not really this thing's forte. And we've almost got this battle won, so if you're waiting for me to go get in that furball, I am not. For one thing, I'm coming in slow. I am way over my altitude. I'm not set up to do a successful run through there. May not like it, don't have to like it. But I do have to respect what the aircraft can and cannot do. All you really have to do is get in range, and virtually anything that falls in your gun sight will die. It has a long cooldown, heat up, and a short cool down. And as such things go, they don't get a whole lot better. Alright, now I am still at 8,000 feet. I'm 2,000 feet above my altitude, but this is a short game. And the thing I want you to notice here is this. Alright, we killed 7 aircraft. We destroyed, or assisted in destroying 2 aircraft. And I saw the numbers here. I didn't assist in destroying aircraft. I killed 9 aircraft in this particular case. Can't say that very often, but this one I know what happened. Alright, so you look at that. It did 14 critical damage. And received a capture point. Okay, I do have the 2X on this one. I got 414. I got 117,740 silver. So every dime that I have put into this aircraft has been repaid at this point. Well, not every dime, but all the mods and stuff that I bought for it have all been repaid. All the upgrades have been repaid. And we're setting ourselves up to buy another aircraft here, which is always a good thing because we always have aircraft pushing up. On the team score, an XF-5U, that's another aircraft with a very similar type of setup, did exactly the same thing. Okay. This is an aircraft, more than anything else, that demands that you respect what it is. Alright, I will make the argument all day long that this really should be the 9,000 foot aircraft, given that its service ceiling was 51,000 feet. It was a interceptor. It was not a multi-role fighter. And everything about this aircraft was built to be just exactly that, and nothing else. And I say that because of a couple of things. These folding fin rockets, meant to, this whole lower section was built for nothing but a radar. And in fact, in the C version, the nose was segged up as a rocket deployment. So and the way that this thing worked is it worked with ground control, and they had a whole system called SAGE that was set up, and it could actually link up into it. It would give you directions to where, what vectors to fly, what altitude to be at, and it would literally guide you into a bomber. Okay? And then that radar, which was so good that he didn't want it captured by the enemy at that time frame. Now it's an obsolete piece of junk, but at the time it was absolute state of the art. It could then turn around and lock on with its radar, guide itself into its final position, launch its rockets, knock a bomber out of the air, and it does that very well, by the way, without anybody knowing it was back there. That's what this aircraft was designed for. And everything about it is built for that. It had an extremely high speed. Its actual speed was 640 miles an hour. You couple that with the 51,000 foot service ceiling, you realize this was meant to catch high-flying bombers. Okay? This pilot is set up wrong, by the way, for this aircraft. But I don't want to spend the gold on it right now. And so the point of this was that I wanted to talk a little bit about that. That's what the aircraft actually was. Now the D was a one-off prototype, wasn't any slower, but it's one of the things that researched was the M61 Vulcan cannon. There was exactly one of these made. And that's one of the things that turned my opinion about this aircraft around. It will do everything a Banshee will do. It will do, it's got a better gun. It turns faster, but it doesn't have the altitude of a Banshee. And I suspect that the reason that you did is you have no reason for a Banshee if you have this. Okay, you just don't. You want the same speed, get rid of the folding fin rockets. You don't absolutely need them at high altitude anyway. If you want to keep them, you want to do ground attack. Now I am segueing into the game itself, of course. Then it is a fairly decent ground attack aircraft. You can take out single small squares with 1 or 2 salvos of rockets. You got 3. Against large, you're going to find that invariably you leave something behind, but if you have other ground attack aircraft, that's no big deal. The most crippling factor in this aircraft is 2 things. The 13-second 160-degree turn time, but there's lots of aircraft out there with worse, and some much worse. You can absolutely chase down an ME-262 HG2 and kill it. All right, I will take this aircraft against that aircraft any day of the week, and I have multiple times, and it's always turned out bad for the 262 MG2, with the exception that when one comes screaming in behind you and you don't notice it. That it's too late. By the time you start getting hits, you're dead. Okay? They've got guns too, and they're very good guns. I believe they're a little shorter ranged, but I wouldn't swear to it. I'm behind on my German heavy fighter work. We'll get to it. Okay. This is an aircraft that demands you understand what its role is and that you play it. It is the sniper par excellence. Up till now, I haven't found anything better at doing that. You want to be at max range for those guns. Hit your, roll forward on your mouse button or hit your sniper view, and you can adjust your fire accordingly. It's got, as you saw in this video, you can do a very good job of Fire, miss, oh, well, we'll just pull the bullet stream where it needs to be. Or readjust, stop, readjust, put the stream back on it. It's got a relatively long heat up cycle. You can put quite a burst on it. It's not like the Colt Mark 12s on this, which have a very short heat up cycle and a relatively long cool down cycle. This is the opposite. The heat up cycle is long enough to do considerable amounts of damage. It can usually take, but not always take out other fighters with one burst. You might take 2 bursts. That's not the biggest deal in the world. What you want to do with this aircraft is keep those other aircraft out there as far to the 2,700 foot. It's actually 2,690, give or take 10 feet, right? So about the time that you see the counter kick down to 3,000 feet, get ready to push your button, and you can even start. By the time that the bullets get there, you will have closed that distance. And proceed to rip them up. All right, give them no opportunity to fire back. They are either going to get out of your bullet stream or they're going to be so torn up that it's not going to make any difference. All right, for the rammers, this is the ultimate aircraft. And you can make an argument for the 262 HG2 as well with the Ram 4 rockets. The FFARs, you let them, you tear them up with your guns, you hit your rocket key, and you watch them blow up time after time after time. Now, I make a human mistake sometimes and forget to hit my rocket key because I'm usually convinced I can tear anything up with a gun so bad it doesn't matter if they hit me or not. But you don't have to do that. Just hit the R key. And I'm getting better at that as time goes on, and they just blow up. They go away. They stop bothering you. Okay. Well, the weaknesses of the aircraft. 13-second turn time. You get a Fury or an LA-160 or a MiG-9 on your tail, and you're going low and slow, or high and slow, which is more often the case, and you can kiss it goodbye. You cannot run from them. You cannot outturn them. They're, unless you've got allies close by, I'll see you when you regen. Okay, that is literally the case with this aircraft. You cannot get away from it. So you have got, it's an easy aircraft to find yourself at 10,000 foot at. You just saw on this, the one time I got shot down, it was by a propeller aircraft that was optimized for high altitude, and there I was sitting like a dummy at high altitude. He got too close. I couldn't turn around in time. He had me. So, is that his fault? No, it's my fault. I should have immediately dove away from the area, got back to the area where I could have regained speed, regained some boost, and re-engaged. And I'm going to urge you to make sure that that's how you use the aircraft. Okay, it's not a turn and burn or anything close to that. As long as those aircraft are willing to stay at very long ranges, you can get away with that. Right until somebody gets aggressive. And there are lots of aircraft that come very close to your performance, even with your without your rocket pods. The Attacker comes in at 586. Let's take a look at the airspeed here. There's your altitude front. Here's your airspeed. Here's your maneuverability. Gun armament, rockets, and survivability. Okay. When you talk about this aircraft, this is what you're going to find, I find. Maybe your experience will be the same, maybe not. This is the thing I find the most crippling. And to some degree, I understand why they limited the 5906, but I'm an armchair historian. I actually, if you add another R to my name and look on Wikipedia, you can find all sorts of articles I work on. And it offends me deeply not to have an aircraft perform as it should. The problem is, by the time you get this thing with all the performance stats it should have, it's a Tier 10. It is not a Tier 9. Okay, 640 miles an hour is perfectly acceptable in a Tier 10. If you want to say it's a D and it's got a different engine in it, you can actually get it up to 660, 670, 680, and say, yeah, it's a Tier 10. The armaments are perfectly okay for that. So they may have had to snuff it down for that. But the problem is the upgraded Tier 10 is actually a downgrade. So, yeah, I have questions. You almost need to replace this with an F-101 Voodoo to get a decent Tier 10 out of that. The Cutlass was not an upgrade. Okay, so you look at this, you look at your turn times on this, which are, they're better than a lot of multi-role aircraft and heavy fighters both. But, it's a factor of the aircraft. So stay at maximum range. Stay within 1,000 feet or 2,000 feet of your altitude limitations, which tells you that 8,000 feet needs to be your hard limit. And I would urge you to think more towards 7. You've got enough reach on your guns to go a heck of a lot farther than that in the vertical. And very few aircraft are playing at 12,000 feet. Well, okay. Keep your distance. Pick off lone stragglers. Work with other aircraft. You get a turn and burn that wants to engage, you can support him from a good distance back. Okay, there's no reason for you to get all worried about it. He's the one that's tangling with the other aircraft. Pick off everything around him. All the guys that want to get behind a turn and burn and have a field day, you get a great gallery seat and shooting gallery to just light him up. And surprisingly, when they lose, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70%, which is what you expect out of an M61 firing run, that aircraft is going to die. Or if it doesn't die, it's going to find something else to do, or it's going to turn towards you, or it's going to dive or climb, or it's going to turn away. Remember, your cooldown on this is very short. So when your gun overheats, and it will, lighten up for a little bit, continue heading towards him. When he turns away, he's not going to be likely to be very far away, and you light him up again, and he's gone. A lot of aircraft can't take one long burst from an M61. I haven't found anything outside of a GA that can take 2. Now, some of your ground attack aircraft are extremely tough. You may have to hit them 4 or 5 times. Or if they will stand still long enough, run up behind them, braid the tail gun if you got enough hit points, and hit them with one of these. 6 of these will give you 2,400 points of damage, and that's enough to kill every GA in the game that I have seen so far. Murderous. Absolutely murderous. So you can run in, run right on top of him, hit your R key, blast him out of the sky, and sail through his wreckage. If he stays still. If he starts turning or twisting, you're wasting your rockets. All right. When you see the attack bombers coming in, again, you can head right for the center of the formation, wait till he gets close enough, hit him with the attack rockets, sail through the wreckage, do a U-turn, catch one on either wing, whichever way you want to turn, hit him with your M61, which will be cooled down by that point, hit him with your rockets. Blast them out of the sky, switch to the next one. I've taken out entire flights of attack bombers in seconds. All right. The gun's more than capable of ripping 60-70% of the hit points off a bomber in one burst. Wait 2-3 seconds, you can fire again. It will not survive the second burst. And these folding fin rockets, if you're lined up right behind them, you can make them die really quick. Now, they don't change their heading. Makes it even better. Okay. Perfect setup. All right, so what happened was I got this aircraft, really disliked it. If you look at my earlier videos, you'll see things like my most famous one is the F-94 is pissing me off. And it's all true. It's become my favorite aircraft. Love playing this thing. Absolutely adore playing this thing. And you can see that we're coming up, and I'm already 50,000 points into the next aircraft. Problem is, I don't like the next aircraft. For one thing, the guns are back to the 720 Mark 12s. You can carry 400 or 500 pound bombs. The turn radius is the same. The speed on it's actually pretty good. The 683 is pretty good. It's not great, but it's pretty good. And that's lovely as far as it goes, but it's not an aircraft that I absolutely think is a massive upgrade over this. Okay. Now we make up stuff for this game all over the place. If you're going to make it up, give me a Starfire E or D plus. Give me a 680 mile an hour Starfire. I'd much prefer that over a Cutlass. But I'm sorry, that's how I feel. And I'm just speaking from the heart here. I can't tell World of Warplanes what to do here, but that's, this is an aircraft that I'm not going to get rid of. I love it for what it does. And you're going to see this over and over with the game. I am currently struggling with the LA-160. This aircraft is a slightly more maneuverable FJ-1 with worse firepower, and it doesn't get better until you go through the upgrades and you finally get this puppy, and I'm sure my opinion will change on it massively. And again, when you finish getting all the engine upgrades, you've got an FJ-1 with a 9-second turn time instead of a 10-second turn time. Okay, that's nice. But I'm sure you're going to go through this over and over again. So that's going to wrap up my review of the F-94. Like everything else, when you got 2.2 million experience points to go, you're going to see it again. I have no choice. If I'm going to produce content daily, then you're going to have to see the aircraft, not just the new ones that I get. So sorry about that, but that's inevitable. They want to give me a creator's deal where I can pull up all the various aircraft. I'll be happy to review those too, but so far I have not heard back from World of Warplanes, and that's just the way things are. Okay, I do want to thank you for spending some time with me today, and I want to ask you to like the video and to subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow, and thank you for flying the very unfriendly skies with Tironan.